I tell everyone this, but tennis, and I will argue this with anybody, is that tennis is like by long and far the hardest sport to be professional.
God bless you, man. God bless
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
I love you,
Can I
man.
just say?
Yeah.
Can I just say that I really agree with that?
I
At
wanted
least
to ask
in terms
you-
of going pro in the sport.
Tennis is the
No, not even going pro. Just being a good professional tennis player, in my opinion, is harder than every other sport. Because, let's look at it like this. If you are playing on a team sport, you're only one of several other players. And even if you're having a bad day, you can either be subbed out or you'll have 5 or 10 other people to pick up the slack. If you are in a fighting sport, which is very difficult as well, you typically only fight a handful of times in a year because you spend many months training for it. Whereas in tennis, you play like, if you're a winner, you're playing like 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week for like many weeks consecutive almost. So while fighting is hard in its own way, it's the amount of times you actually have the official fight. It's not like you're fighting every single day. You go into a fight, you get beaten up, you get beaten up, and then you wait another few months to train and recuperate and rinse and repeat. And as far as for all the other tennis wannabe sports like badminton and ping pong,
Tennis wannabe sports.
and beach tennis, all those
pong.
other sports, it's like, yeah, they're like tennis, but tennis is the only one where like all of your senses are put to their absolute peak. Because with ping pong, you're not really running, you're just kind of hopping around, and it requires extremely fast reflexes, but not really endurance when it comes to like running and sprinting, which tennis does. And while the speed is slightly faster, the amount of effort in tennis, I would scientifically believe, is more than that of ping pong or badminton.
Yeah, maybe
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit. What were you gonna
I
say?
mean, not even close. Yeah, if someone can tell, like, go watch the NBA draft coming up. You're going to have probably the best player in college basketball go and be a millionaire immediately and get drafted and go play for a professional organization and probably be good for life if he knows what he's doing, just by getting drafted and being the best in college. What other sport can you tell me that the best player in college isn't going to go make it in pro? Like, just tell me that. Like, because you go watch football, the best player in football is going to get drafted number 1. The best player in basketball is going to get drafted number 1. The best baseball is a little bit different, but still, the best player in college baseball is going to go sign a X $1 million contract for a professional organization. He might not make it. He might go and play in the minors, but he's still going to go make a lot of money just because he was the best in college. And this goes for all these other sports too. Like, I don't know what other ones you want to talk about, but those are. So look, in tennis, the best player in college tennis has a significantly better chance at not making it professional and making zero money than actually going pro and making a living for himself. Just way better odds that the guy doesn't. And you just go look at the numbers, dude. Go look at every single best, quote-unquote, best college tennis player in the past 20 years and let me know what they've done in the sport of tennis. And the answer is nothing. Literally nothing.
It's
because
not nothing. It's just that when they finish college, it takes them like 10 years to actually achieve anything, which kind of defeats. It's like you said, from college itself, they didn't really get anything. They got it from working hard on the tour, but they didn't really like hone their skills or get any support in college itself. Because you look at John Isner. John Isner was a pretty good college player, and Steven Johnson, I believe, also won the NCAA championship.
All right,
And-
so you're actually talking to someone that knows him like on a first name basis and everything.
Oh, okay. I believe he
So
won.
yeah. Talk about him actually, low key. Because he's the greatest college tennis player. in
No,
history.
he's not the greatest, or maybe the greatest that finished college, because like Michael Chang and John McEnroe went to like college and then quit because they were champions.
Right, so that doesn't make him the greatest college player ever. Stevie's definitely the best college player ever, just like statistically. And like you said, there might have been like great players that like played college tennis that are greater than Stevie. Like absolutely, like Michael Chang, the Bryan brothers are way more accomplished. Arthur Ashe went to college.
Actually?
The Bryan brothers went to Stanford, yeah. And Yeah, McEnroe. Dude, look, there's a bunch of different guys that played college that had much better professional careers than Stevie, but Steve Johnson is the best college player ever. He went 72-0 in his
Wow.
last X amount of matches. So as a junior, from the time he was a junior till the time he was a senior, Steve Johnson didn't lose a match in college. And he was also playing number one at the best school in the country who four-peated. So Steve Johnson was playing the best player from every single school that he played every time out and didn't lose 72 times in a row. So it'll never be done again. It won't even come close to being done again. Stevie will always be the best college player ever. With that being said,
He's not the
Stevie's-
best professional tennis player.
Of course not. He's not even close to the best professional tennis player ever. Stevie's like, dude, first of all, his career is like pretty much done with now. Like he won't go up from here. I
Well,
don't
he's
think.
in the 30s, so he had a decent.
And he's got a kid on the way, and yeah, dude, Stevie's had an awesome career. But look, we're talking about Steve Johnson, John Isner, and Kevin Anderson. Those are like the three names that come up when you think of like great college players that have made it pro. But other than that, and dude, those guys they made it pro, but they didn't make like a dent in the sports world, or in at least like in tennis, and so how can you tell me that look at three guys in the past 20 years have had any bit of a successful pro career? How just tell me what other sport that happens with, because it's not a lot. Look at all these number one draft picks coming in from basketball. Look at all the number one draft picks that come in at football. They all have great careers. They make a bunch of money, and that's that, and it's awesome. But in tennis, it just doesn't happen. It's the hardest sport to go pro in, and you could literally be like Steve Johnson, who's the best at the highest level, and not make it pro. Yeah, he made it. He's never gonna win a Grand
He
Slam.
got a career high 20 or 25.
He was a top 30 guy.
He was
Yeah.
top 30. He won a few small tournaments, but overall he didn't triumph like the legendary players we think of.
Oh, right. No. Yeah, no, he didn't. And yeah, that's kind of my biggest.
Johnny Isner, he's the best player I think to come. Or well, I don't know. Kevin Anderson hasn't really achieved much, but
He reached 2 Grand Slam finals in a top 10 ranking.
Anderson.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Actually,
He did it in his 30s, so
Right.
I know-
Okay. And even if they did, you're right. Kevin Anderson did, and even that, with what they did accomplish, we're talking about 3 players.
Yeah.
In the entire in the
History.
of 7 billion people, 3 players. What percentage?
30 years.
In the past
40
30,
years.
40 years, dude. How does that work? Just tell me another sport that happens in.
You're
It
right.
doesn't. It's because there's way more tennis players than football players and basketball players combined. There's 100 times more. It's one of the biggest sports in the world, it's played all over the world. So there's just way more competition. There's way more good players in the sport. The levels of tennis are way greater than any other sport. It's actually really hard for me to even fathom and put into words how actually how many different levels of tennis there are. It's hard for me to fathom and like I said, yeah, put into words, because you literally have a guy dude, I could literally,
No,
oh my god,
you're
I could,
right,
it's
you're right.
I'm going down a black hole here talking about that right
Speaking
now.
of which,
No, but you're right. You step on the court with Rafa, and it's a totally different thing if you step on the court with
Pete.
Stevie.
Well,
Excuse you.
yeah, Pete.
I mean, but
Yes.
it's true.
Okay, and then go put Pete against just an
Any
anyone,
random high school kid.
and it's not even close. Dude, the levels of tennis are just way too great, and no other sport can compete with it, in my opinion. Other people can say whatever they want, but I'll always go down arguing that tennis is by far the hardest sport to make it professional in, and the levels are just way too high. I swear to God, and I'm just thinking about it because football's on the screen right now. You could take legitimate college players that are freshmen. They're gonna go get drafted, and look, you could put one of the best receivers in college football. You could go put him on an NFL team right now, and he can make an impact on the team.
but tennis isn't a team sport.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother aspect that you got to take into. It's literally you're out there for yourself. You're not even so it is so individualized. It's all on you. If you win, it's because of it's because of what you did, and if you lose, it's all because of you. at the same time, you're also just out there playing for yourself. Like, these other guys are playing for organizations. They're all playing for something greater than themselves. Cities,
sure.
they're playing for organizations. They're playing for their teammates. Like, tennis, they're just playing for themselves. Like, that is so hard in itself to think about. Like, you know how lonely and, like, miserable, like, practices are? Like, dude, that's legit work. They're going out there training. Nobody's seeing them. There's no cameras on them. They're training out there 6 hours a day or whatever, all by themselves for nothing other than themselves. It's, like, legit crazy.
You're right. I 100% agree. And if anyone ever gets in an argument with you, I want you to know I will be behind you, backing you up 100%.